In the beginning, there was only the Ether and the Keepers. Among them were two beings who would later be known by many names. One would be known as Dr. Monty and the other as the Shadow Man. September 3rd, 5 AD. Knowing the planet has a gateway to Agartha, the Apothicons sent meteors of element 115 to Earth. They believe humanity will one day use element 115 to wage war amongst themselves, opening a rift that will allow the Apothicons to escape the Dark Ether. January 15th, 1292. The Great War between humanity and the Apothicons begins. April 14th, 1294. Sir Pablo Marinus is saved from the clutches of Amargua by four unknown heroes. They would later be known as Primus. December 31st, 1299. Together with the Keepers, Primus defeats the Apothicons, bringing the Great War to an end. January 1st, 1300. Before they seemingly disappear from history, Primus instructs the Wolf King to begin building Der Eisendrache. September 19th, 1318. Honoring the Wolf King's dying request, his loyal servant Arthur scatters and buries his bones in the grounds of Der Eisendrache, accompanied by the King's Wolf. September 20th, 1318. Temporal rifts teleport Arthur to Resolution 1295 in 2025 Angola. June 30th, 1908. A meteor containing element 115 crashes near the stony Tunguska River. August 30th, 1925. Dr. Edward Richtofen joins the Illuminati. February 4th, 1931. Large deposits of element 115 are discovered near Breslin, Germany. Dr. Ludwig Maxis, a German scientist, is sent to investigate. May 10th, 1931. Maxis forms Group 935, an international organization dedicated to the study of element 115. Maxis tells his scientists they represent the future of technological advancement and will be pioneers of human discovery. The group swears to work in secrecy from their respective governments. As Maxis says, we cannot afford to let this power fall into the wrong hands. November 5th, 1934. Samantha Maxis is born. Her mother dies in childbirth. August 11th, 1936. Maxis invites Richtofen to join Group 935. He agrees, secretly acting on behalf of the Illuminati's interest. April 10th, 1937. The Imperial Japanese Army discovers element 115 meteor fragments in a swamp within Japanese territory. They build the Rising Sun facility to continue research. Division 9 is created to oversee its operation. June 14th, 1937. The United States government discovers deposits of element 115 at Groom Lake. July 2nd, 1939. Maxis and Richtofen begin teleportation experiments with the matter transference prototype. To mild success, the subjects are teleported, but their chemical composition is altered, leaving them catatonic and changed. August 5th, 1939. Using element 115, Maxis and Richtofen resurrect one of the teleported corpses for the first time. Initially, it obeys, but soon becomes rabid and attacks them. The test subject is euthanized. September 3rd, 1939. Richtofen begins development of the Wunderwaffe DG-2. November 23rd, 1939. Maxis turns to Reichstag for additional funding. Germany agrees to the request, expressing interest in their weapons research, teleportation technology, and the reanimated undead subjects. December 4th, 1939. During test trial 131, Richtofen and Dr. Schuster successfully teleport a walnut. This is first successful test where the chemical composition of the object is maintained throughout the process. December 5th, 1939. Edward's walnut delivery fails to impress Maxis, who declares it's a waste of time. He reveals to Richtofen that Group 935 will soon be funded by Germany. Richtofen worries this will lead to massive defections. He and Schuster decide to continue their teleportation experiments behind Maxis' back. January 4th, 1940. Richtofen and Schuster conduct their first human teleportation test. Richtofen is so confident in its success, he volunteers himself. Teleported to the moon, he encounters the MPD, the ether pyramid hidden by the Apothicons. While inspecting the device, Richtofen is electrocuted and begins hearing the many voices of corruption, including that of the Shadow Man. The device then teleports him to Shangri-La. Corrupted by the Dark Ether, Richtofen is gradually being driven insane by an obsession to find Agartha. January 5th, 1940. Richtofen is worshipped by the natives of Shangri-La. An altar is built in his name. Richtofen encounters the focusing stone for the first time. January 23rd, 1940. After a near-month absence, Richtofen returns to Schuster with a plan to build Griffin Station. January 24th, 1940. Richtofen renounces his involvement with the Illuminati. When asked how he could abandon his obligation to the Order, he says Teddy was a liar. March 13th, 1940. Construction of Griffin Station on the moon begins. Frustrated with Max's Max's alignment with Germany, other disgruntled 935 scientists join the cause. July 13, 1940. Maxis instructs his assistant Sophia to write a letter to the Reichsberg High Command requesting additional funds. Though he reports that mass production will soon be underway shortly, de Ries lacks not only the funding but sufficient volumes of element 115. August 1, 1940. In response to Maxis's request, Germany creates two new facilities for Group 935. They are the Kino facility, a repurposed theater, and the asylum facility at the Wittenau Sanatorium in Berlin. August 18, 1940. As per Germany's request, the Japanese Imperial Army hands over the Rising Sun facility to Group 935. Division 9 remains involved on site. October 3, 1940. Group 935 establishes a research facility in Siberia near the Tunguska River. November 6, 1940. Group 935 establishes a research facility at Der Eisendrah. June 24, 1941. Nikolai Belensky's wife is killed during the German advance into the Soviet Union. In an effort to numb the pain, Nikolai increasingly turns to vodka. January 11, 1942. Maxis gives Fluffy to Samantha. The dog is expecting a litter. January 20th, 1942. Maxis tests the first file for storage on the data servant. January 26, 1942. On the data servant, Maxis catalogs locations with prominent element 115 deposits. He includes information about its various application and cities that the reanimation of dead cells is a possible side effect. January 30th, 1942. Richthofen completes the Wunderwaffe DG2 prototype. February 1st, 1942. With Griffin Station completed, Richthofen names Dr. Groff lead scientist and returns to Earth to continue the charade with Maxis. Working alongside Schuster, Groff is left to discover how to power the MPD. February 2, 1942. In a speech to his staff, Groff talks optimistically about Griffin Station's establishment as a permanent base of operations. April 17, 1942. Maxis develops the ray gun prototype at the Rising Sun facility. H. Porter works on developing the second generation model. June 13, 1942. A result of temporal rifts in 1963 Kino, Monty reaches across time and offers little nudges. One nudge is developing Group 935's element 115 fused elixirs. They created 4 medicinal beverages known as Juggernog, Quick-Revive, Speed Cola, and Double Tap. June 28, 1942. Group 935 continues development of a weapons upgrade machine. July 18, 1942. Groff and Schuster unwillingly discover how to charge the MPD. When Schuster kills a rat near the device, its death inexplicably begins filling the tank, charging the device. They report their findings to Richthofen. July 20, 1942. Richthofen begins sending soldiers and scientists to the moon to be sacrificed, their souls used to charge the MPD. November 5, 1942. Takeo Masaki is dispatched by the Emperor to oversee the work of Group 935 and Division 9 at the Rising Sun facility. December 8, 1942. Richthofen shares the element 115-based elixir recipes with Griffin Station. They develop Mule Kick. December 9, 1942. Nikolai's brother is killed in the Battle of Stalingrad. December 14, 1942, Richthofen creates the monkey bomb. December 16, 1942, in a personal log, Maxis expresses concern over element 115's impact on Richthofen's behavior. No longer trusting him, he wonders if it was a mistake to invite him to Group 935. December 20, 1942, accompanied by Sophia, Maxis is transferred to the Kino facility to focus on creating Germany's undead army. Samantha is left in Richthofen's care. January 8, 1943. Maxis worries he and Sophia have grown too close. He considers sending her away. January 16, 1943. Nikolai is captured by German forces during the Battle of Stalingrad. He becomes a subject in Group 935 experiments. January 27, 1943. Maxis reports success with Subject 26, whose violent outbursts have been greatly reduced. Maxis believes this method of treatment will be 100% effective in most cases. February 2, 1943. The Battle of Stalingrad ends. February 10, 1943. Maxis reports the treatment has been perfected. He believes if Subject 26 can retain the impressions longer than 26 hours, then the delivery of the zombie army can be accelerated. February 12, 1943. After attacking a handler, Subject 26 is killed and deemed another setback. May 18, 1943, Harvey Yenna begins his work on Group 935. June 4th, 1943, Primus arrives from Dimension 63. In an effort to prevent the events that are about to unfold, they formulate a plan to stop this dimension's Richtofen. June 11th, 1943, Richtofen is contacted from the house by Maxis, who warns that the test subjects must never be allowed to be awakened. The havoc that could be wreaked upon the future by such simple-minded individuals would be catastrophic. June 13th, 1943, Takeo reports to the Emperor that the work being done on the Rising Sun facility is unacceptable. July 19th, 1943, Primus Richtofen is teleported to the house in Agartha, reuniting him with Maxis. July 24th, 1943, on the orders of the Emperor, Takeo is taken prisoner by Group 935 in Division 9. He is used as a test subject for experiments. July 14th, 1944. After the setbacks with Subject 26, Maxis reports new success with the Undead Army. However, he maintains his belief that the undead cannot be controlled or maintained. September 2nd, 1944. Pablo Marinas, a Mexican spy, is captured by Group 935 at Der Eisendrah. May 9th, 1945. In his cell, Pablo writes of visions of a great war. He describes a great battle against strange demon-like creatures who were trying to devour the earth. In his vision, he sees 4 knights protect him from certain death. He makes a note that the knights wore tunics similar to those in Der Eisendrah. June 4th, 1945, Nachter on Toten. An Allied plane malfunctions over an airfield and crashes. German army trucks transporting the undead in Element 115 between Group 935 facilities are stuck in the crash. The Marines surviving the crash hold out against the undead as long as they can. June 17th, 1945, Peter McCain infiltrates Group 935 at Derice. June 29th, 1945, Groff and Schuster develop the wave gun. July 15th, 1945, Richtofen travels to the Siberian facility to do further research on live specimens. As her temporary guardian, he takes Samantha with him. Group 935 begins transferring 3 test subjects for experimentation: Nikolai, Pablo, and Takeo. July 29th, 1945. While Richtofen works at the Siberian facility, Group 935 begins the development of Deadshot Daiquiri. August 1st, 1945. The test subjects arrive at the Siberian facility for Richtofen's experiments. August 31st, 1945. CIA handler Cornelius Purnell confirms that Peter McCain has successfully infiltrated Group 935 and has been transferred to the asylum facility. Cornelius suspects Group 935 is losing control of their experiments and has sent in a Marine recon unit to extract McCain. Tank Dempsey is to lead the squad. September 1st, 1945. Peter is outed as a spy and captured by Group 935. September 2nd, 1945. Richtofen reports Pablo has died following a spleen removal. He also reveals he's been performing experiments on Samantha. September 2nd, 1945. World War II ends, Group 935 continues their research. September 2nd, 1945. Temporal rifts begin to affect the asylum facility. An orderly reports increasing problems with test subjects. Many in the facility have begun hearing voices coming from the walls, including the sobbing of a boy and a girl, screaming, and a man shouting for children to close the windows. September 3rd, 1945. An outbreak occurs at the asylum facility. Peter McCain escapes. September 6th, 1945, Verrucht. Dempsey, John Banana, Smokey, and the 4th Marine arrive at the asylum facility to find it overrun by zombies. They fight off the horde as long as they can. Dempsey is apprehended by Group 935. September 6th, 1945. John Banana writes messages and records his last words while being eaten alive by an undead Smokey. September 10th, 1945. Richtofen reports another spy has been captured and will be brought to replace the Mexican. The subject is Dempsey. September 13th, 1945. Cornelius Purnell attempts to send a transmission to Peter McCain, telling him to rendezvous at the Rising Sun facility. September 17th, 1945. Dempsey arrives at the Siberian facility. September 20th, 1945. Richtofen documents the personality traits of his test subjects. Dempsey's intellect seems low, but his will is strong. Takeo is still staring at the floor, muttering what sounds like some kind of proverb over and over again. Nikolai has recently begun responding to stimuli, but only after injections of a new serum made primarily from vodka. Richtofen notes that their minds have been almost entirely broken, with no memory remaining of who they once were. September 24th, 1945. Maxis returns to Derice. He orders Richtofen to do likewise so they may continue their work on the matter transference device. September 27th, 1945. Richtofen returns to Doris with Dempsey, Nikolai, Takeo, and Samantha. October 1st, 1945. Maxis reports on Richtofen's findings with his live test subjects, noting that while their baseline psych remains intact, all specific memories have been lost. October 1st, 1945. Infuriated to learn that Maxis has not been mass-producing the DG2 as he swore he would, Richtofen reveals in his plot to destroy Maxis and Samantha, vowing that he will no longer continue to work on his undead army. October 8th, 1945. Groff reports to Richtofen the MPD is nearly ready. October 12, 1945. Groff radios Richtofen to inform him that the device has been powered up and is awaiting the conduit. Richtofen says he will proceed with Operation Shield and dispose of Maxis and Samantha. October 13, 1945. Though frustrated that the matter transferences tested have been largely unsuccessful, Maxis acknowledges that the test subjects' departure from their original point of origin is undeniable. However, Richtofen's suggestion that the subjects have been transported not through space but time itself causes Maxis to worry if his irrationality may soon prove a liability to our endeavors. October 13th, 1945. Maxis and Richtofen perform teleportation test trials on test subjects number 3, 4, and 5. All fail, including test 5, where Maxis uses Fluffy. Test 6 fails. Fluffy, now changed, is teleported back into the chamber. Samantha sees Fluffy and runs into the teleporter. Maxis chases after her. Richtofen seals them both in the test chamber and teleports all 3 of them. October 13th, 1945. Samantha is teleported to the moon while Groff and Schuster work out the MPD. Running into the MPD, she is drawn inside of it where she becomes corrupted by the dark ether. October 13th, 1945. Maxis is teleported to the crazy place and develops the power to merge with electricity. October 13th, 1945. Richtofen returns to the moon. Learning Samantha is trapped in the MPD, he orders Groff to teleport Maxis there to coax her out of the device. He also warns Groff to keep an eye out for an evil-looking dog. October 13th, 1945. In an effort to free Samantha, Maxis approaches the MPD and persuades her to come out. Once she does, Maxis gives her an instruction: kill them all. Maxis kills himself and merges with the technology of Griffin Station, while Samantha unleashes the undead upon the base. October 14th, 1945. H. Porter activates the alarm as an outbreak occurs at Doris. Before taking a cyanide capsule, he says he's all out of hope, God forgive us all. October 14th, 1945. Richtofen returns to Doris and awakens Dempsey, Takeo, and Nikolai. With no recollection of who they are or who Richtofen is, they agreed to help him. The four would become known as Ultimus. October 18th, 1945. Peter McCain parachutes over the Rising Sun facility. He dies shortly after. October 21st, 1945. Shinonuma. Ultimus travels to the Rising Sun facility to recover Richtofen's diary. Upon reading it, Richtofen begins to form his plan to defeat Samantha. October 28th, 1945. Doris. Ultimus returns to Doris. With his diary, Richtofen plans to use the teleporter to return to the moon and confront Samantha. Unfortunately, the Wunderwaffe DG2 overloads the teleporter and sends them through time, causing Richtofen to drop his diary. November 5th, 1945. Group 935 is disbanded. January 19th, 1946. The United States and the Soviet Union share the resources recovered from Group 935's various research stations. Richtofen's diary is among the items recovered by the Soviet Union. January 27th, 1946. The Pentagon hires many former Group 935 scientists in an effort to replicate their work. January 29th, 1946. As with their U.S. counterparts, the Soviets hire many former Group 935 scientists. Among them is Harvey Yenna, who forms the Ascension Group. July 29th, 1952. The Pentagon begins experiments involving their own versions of the undead. May 12th, 1955. The U.S. government transfers a number of Element 115 experiments to Groom Lake. October 19th, 1955. Gersh and Yuri begin working on the Ascension Group. April 23rd, 1956. Shangri-La. Explorers Brock and Gary discover Shangri-La. During an eclipse, they're unwittingly trapped in a time loop. Sally, sent back in time from 2011, is trapped in the same loop. Ultimus arrives in Shangri-La. With the help of Brock and Gary, they acquire the Focusing Stone. June 3rd, 1959. The Pentagon constructs their own prototype teleporter and commence experimentation. March 13th, 1962. Studying Group 935's medicinal elixir research, the Ascension Group develops PhD Flopper and Stamina. November 11th, 1962. Gersh begins work on Project Thunder. December 12th, 1962. Gersh and Yuri begin to work on the Gersh device, codenamed Project Mercury. June 15th, 1963. The Pentagon begins development of their own version of the Wunderwaffe DG2. August 17th, 1963. The Pentagon begins development on their own version of the Winter's Howl. October 28th, 1963, Kino der Toten. From Derice, Ultimus teleports to Kino. This marks the first time Ultimus travels across space and time. Temporal rifts occur across dimensions. In light of these developments, Monty feels obligated to step in and begins to make changes in the background across time. He helps Group 935 invent perk machines. He adds chalk drawings to walls, little nudges. Ultimus locates a lunar lander and fly to the Ascension facility. October 29th, 1963. Gersh informs the senior staff that Yuri has been removed from Project Mercury and has been transferred to rocket research. October 29th, 1963. Yuri begins to notice the appearance of children's toys around the facility. November 1st, 1963. Upon reading Richtofen's diary, Yuri begins to hear Samantha's voice. Over several days, her voice will consume him, driving him to the brink of insanity. She orders him to resume work on the Gersh device. He obeys. November 4th, 1963. Gersh announces to the committee that Project Thunder is nearing completion. Gersh reveals Yuri may need to be removed from Ascension entirely. Having observed his being hostile towards other scientists and frequently observed muttering to himself. November 5th, 1963. Obeying Samantha's wishes, Yuri tricks Gersh into activating the Gersh device. The rift created absorbs him and allows Samantha to travel through. Yuri is also absorbed and transported to the Pentagon. November 6th, 1963. Ascension. Ultimus arrives at the Soviet Cosmodrome and free Gersh from the Casimir mechanism. Richtofen recovers his diary and learns that they need the Vril device from the Siberian facility from his plan. Maintaining his ethereal form, Gersh sends them into a rift to their next destination before beginning his travels across space and time. November 6th, 1963. 5. In the Pentagon, JFK, Richard Nixon, Robert McNamara meet with Fidel Castro in the aftermath of the Cuban Missile Crisis. Due to the events at the Cosmodrome, a zombie outbreak occurs. Samantha sends Yuri to the Pentagon to thwart their survival. After Gersh is freed and Ultimus departs from the Cosmodrome, the outbreak ends at the Pentagon. All four survive. November 19th, 1963. In an effort to avoid another undead outbreak, the U.S. government creates the Broken Arrow program, establishing several facilities across the country. The Groom Lake program is folded into Broken Arrow. August 11th, 1973. Broken Arrow recovers a shard of element 115 from Division 9. September 29th, 1979. Russman begins work at Broken Arrow. Over the course of his employment, his extensive exposure to element 115 leads to significant memory loss. April 20th, 1983. Broken Arrow begins live animal experiments with the shard, creating bios. June 24th, 1986. A containment breach involving the bios occurs at one of the Broken Arrow facilities. Russman is one of the few to escape alive. The facility is shut down and abandoned. Its projects are transferred to other locations. June 24th, 1996. Victus arrives at the abandoned Broken Arrow facility. Still being pursued by undead Richtofen, they recover the element 115 shard and depart through another rift. March 17th, 2011. Call of the Dead. After entering the rift, Ultimus arrives at the Siberian facility in 2011, where they find themselves trapped in a closet while George A. Romero films his latest project at the location. Samantha, in her pursuit of Ultimus, unleashes an undead outbreak. The film stars fight the undead horde, ultimately recovering the Vril device for Richtofen. Ultimus teleports back to Shangri-La in an effort to acquire the next artifact required to defeat Samantha, the Focusing Stone. April 11th, 2011. Following the disappearance of the Call of the Dead cast and crew, Romero's assistant Sally begins the search for her boss. Her journey leads her to Shangri-La during an eclipse, which sends her back in time to April 23rd, 1956. April 10th, 2025. Broken Arrow creates the Denizens. July 8th, 2025. Broken Arrow accidentally creates Avogadro. September 1st, 2025. In desperate need of more element 115, Broken Arrow used an excavator to drill near the nuclear testing facility known as Nuketown. October 13th, 2025. Moon. Using the Vril device and the Focusing Stone, Richtofen completes his grand scheme and swaps bodies with Samantha on the moon, giving him full control of the zombies and the ether. Maxis contacts the remaining members of the Ultimus through the station's electronics and ask for their help to defeat Richtofen. They agree. They launch missiles at Earth, leaving it fractured and broken. They sever Richtofen's connection with the ether, but he maintains in control over the zombies. Once Maxis controls the ether in 2035, he returns to the moon and plucks Samantha from Richtofen's body to join him in Agartha. October 13th, 2025. Nuketown zombies. A nuclear bomb explodes outside of Nuketown as a result of Broken Arrow's drilling. CIA and CDC operatives arrive to find an undead outbreak already in progress. One of the missiles from the moon hits Nuketown, killing all on sight except for Marlton Johnson, who survives by hiding in a nuclear bunker. October 13th, 2025. The Earth fracturing triggers further temporal rifts, teleporting an 1800s American western town underneath a mining facility in Angola. Arthur is pulled through the rift from 1318, arriving in the now buried town. November 5th, 2025. Broken Arrow is disbanded after the primary facility is lost in a fire. It is later believed to be an act of arson committed by employees destroying evidence implicating them in the outbreak. Russman, his mind broken after over 40 years of exposure to element 115, begins to wander the Earth. March 18th, 2027. In a distress call, former CDC Assistant Director George Barkley reveals that the infectious contaminants have gone airborne. He advises caution regarding any allies showing signs of short-term memory loss, psychosis, delusion, and paranoia. March 27th, 2027. A society of survivors who eats undead is formed. They are the Flesh. May 12th, 2027. Samuel J. Stuhlinger joins the Flesh. June 28th, 2027. Through the consumption of the undead meat, the Flesh begin hearing Richtofen's voice. He tries to persuade them to build global polarization devices for him to pursue his new plan, to mend the rift in space and time and acquire full control over the ether. June 28th, 2027. Maxis begins communicating to survivors on Earth, telling those willing to listen to build global polarization devices for him in pursuit of his new plan, to open Agartha and reunite him with Samantha, even though it will result in the destruction of the Earth. April 4th, 2028. The Flesh broadcast their message across all frequencies. They tell others to heed our call, and that's the path to enlightenment is achieved by consuming the undead. December 9th, 2028. Max's followers begin constructing a spire near the Hanford site facility. January 3rd, 2029. Max's followers begin to doubt him, believing he may in fact be evil. They destroy their electronics. March 2nd, 2029. Max's followers attempt to speak to him again. Many have begun to hear Richtofen, and those loyal to Maxis eagerly await further instruction. August 15th, 2029. A broadcast is sent out confirming the fall of the Flesh and Max's followers. With each group hearing the voice of Richtofen or Maxis, a battle broke out between them. As they fought, a zombie horde moved in and destroyed all who remained. Stuhlinger is one of the few to escape. Richtofen and Maxis are left with no one to communicate near Green Run, where the first polarization device must be constructed. October 13th, 2035. Stuhlinger bumps into Russman, who has stolen a bus from an abandoned Broken Arrow facility. October 21st, 2035. Transit. Stuhlinger and Russman run into Marlton and Abigail Misty Brierton at a diner near the Hanford site facility. Maxis asks them to complete the polarization device in his favor. Stuhlinger, having consumed zombies' meat, is contacted by Richtofen, who orders Stuhlinger to construct the device for him instead. The crew constructs the device for Maxis. The four would become known as Victus. October 22nd, 2035. Die Rise. Still hoping to regain control, Richtofen teleports Victus to Province 22, where he demands that Stuhlinger activate the second polarization device. Once again, the crew sides with Maxis. The voice sees for some time, leaving Victus to wander the Earth. December 31st, 2035. Buried. Victus arrives in an old western town now located beneath a mining facility in Angola. They discover Arthur in a jail cell. He assists them on their journey. The voices of Maxis and Richtofen return. They activate the final polarization device in Maxis' favor. Now corrupted by the dark ether, he reveals his true intentions to Victus and punishes Richtofen by trapping his soul in a zombie. Drawn into Agartha by her father, Samantha witnesses the evil that has corrupted him. When a rift opens in Dimension 63 in 1918, she reaches out to the Timeline's Maxis for help. January 10th, 2036. Richtofen instructs undead Richtofen to pursue Victus and recover their blood vials. January 19th, 2036. Primus Richtofen begins to manipulate Stuhlinger, opening a rift for Victus to begin their new journey. Pursued by undead Richtofen and an army of undead, Victus enters the rift. January 19th, 2036. Maxis destroys Earth and all its surviving inhabitants.